absolutely, without question, you have to work on building relationships and also your own interpersonal skills. Relationships are the most important thing, and especially I think today, something that we're kind of shying away from. So many people are, relying on the Google machine or PPC or digital ads or any number of things where I'm just going to drop $50,000 a month into this thing and it's going to spit out leads and it's going to be great. That may work, but a lot of those systems are built and designed to hold you captive because the second you let off the gas, your leads dry up.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of The Inventive Journey. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7- and 8-figure businesses, as well as the founder and CEO of Miller IP Law, where he helps startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. You ever need help with yours, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Now, today we've got another great guest on the podcast. James Grand, and James started out studying civil engineering at Georgia Tech, then went off to law school, wanted to go into the patent law, which is a man after my own heart, at least for a period of time, and then got into the courtroom, decided he loved being a prosecutor, and so went into the public sector for a period of time, decided that didn't want to have the low pay for the rest of his life, which I don't blame him. So moved into the private sector. 14 months later, decided to open his own practice and go down that route. Started out doing a wide variety of law and then specialized more down into personal injury, and then focused on business to business and helping law firms in the personal injury space with litigation. So with that much as an introduction, welcome on the podcast, James.
Thanks, Devin. I mean, I got to give you credit. That was a fast and furious overview of pretty much the last 10, 15 years. So, I mean, well done.
Absolutely. I have the innate ability to take everybody's life and condense it down into 30 or 45 seconds. So
yeah, that's a skill, no doubt. So I'm excited already.
Awesome. So I did just take that much longer journey and gave the much condensed version, but why don't we rewind and unpack a little bit? So tell us a little bit about how your journey got started studying civil engineering at Georgia Tech.
I mean, that's where things always started. Like, I was always going to go to Georgia Tech and I was going to figure out engineering, and I fell into civil engineering. I had a brief career. I had jobs lined up for when I graduated, but I took a couple of classes and I was like, I think I should go to law school. And I mean, it was really that's all it was. It was just kind of on a whim in my second to last semester. And then when I was waiting for law school, I was like, I could also be a patent lawyer. So that's when I started studying for the patent bar. And man, you are a special and very smart person out there to be able to get through that patent bar, because I started studying for that thing and it blew my mind just with how intense and difficult that thing really is. So it was, you're a special person for sure.
I am. I don't know. I don't claim to be smart, nor do I think I am. But it does take a special, unique type of individual to want that type of punishment. So you started out and you said, okay, patent law sounds interesting, but then didn't fit with you well, or didn't decide to go down that route. So I think at some point you kind of decided, hey, I like the courtroom and I want to be a prosecutor and kind of go down that route. So walk us through a little bit of kind of how you made that transition or made that decision.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I was going to do environmental law or working with EPA or something where I was going to fit my engineering and law background together. But I got in the courtroom when I had an internship through the district attorney's office in the county next door to where I went to law school. And they put me in the courtroom through the Third Year Practice Act. And it was just like, oh yeah, I mean, this is performance, this is sales, this is fun, this is entertaining. And I just kind of was like, all right, this is what I want to do. Did I know anything about it? Not a chance. And so, that's where I got my first job as a prosecutor here in Georgia. And I mean, it was fun. It's good. You're trying a lot of cases. I probably had 20 something trials in 18 months, which is more trials than most attorneys ever have in their career. But kind of like you said, I mean, public service is great. It has its place, but at the same time, it's not necessarily where you want to go if you want to either be an entrepreneur or build something for yourself, for your family, for others, and help a lot of people. So that's where I was like, all right, we're going to go into the civil route. And that's where I went with a firm that did just a whole lot of everything. And it's kind of the old mantra, you dabble in everything, you're an expert in nothing. And my business partner and I, we started at that firm within 2 weeks of each other. And we just kind of looked at each other one day, probably 2 or 3 months in, and we're just like, are you ready to do this? Can we do this thing? And we started planning. And January of 2015, we opened the doors of Georgia Trial Attorneys and haven't looked back since.
So now, in one question, I think that makes perfect sense. It is a balance with attorneys. I mean, in one sense, you're just, you do the types of law that allow you to continue your practice and to be, successful. And yet it is hard because if you go too broad, then you to be able to adequately or well surface your clients becomes more difficult because hard to be an expert in everything, and I'm certainly not an expert in everything, and that's why I always have to laugh just as an aside when somebody comes and asks you a legal question. Like, I do IP law, I do patents, trademarks, and copyrights. Yes, I have a basic understanding of the law. Yes, I went to law school. I can give you a few of my thoughts, but I don't practice, as an example, divorce law, and I understand the basics. I'm sure I could come up to speed, but I'm not your guy. And so it is kind of that balance. And so as you guys, so as you get with the partner that you guys split out with, how did you decide kind of what you're going to do? Because I mean, starting your own firm, not an easy thing, a lot of effort figuring out how you're going to bring on clients, who you're going to service, types of practice of law. So kind of walk us through as you decide, okay, the firm that we're at right now isn't the right fit. How did you decide what kind of direction you'd go?
We had no clue what we were doing. Literally, we had no plan. We were just like, yeah, we're going to start a law firm because that's what attorneys do, which unfortunately is a pattern that befalls many lawyers throughout the entire country because we don't have a lot of support from the law schools. We don't have a lot of support from the state bars on entrepreneurship, on business skills, on what it takes to actually run a business. We just think we're great lawyers and great lawyers are going to do great things. And we've been able to get to that point, but it wasn't an easy road, so to speak. So, we started out kind of under the same model that we had, worked with our prior firm of door law. Like, we had bills, we had to make ends meet. So we were doing family law, criminal defense, personal injury. We were trying to help a lot of people, but also help ourselves because we were starting this business from nothing. But it was one of those things that very early on, you realize that you have to have some specialty, like you said. And even within one practice area, there's still a ton of different other practice areas within the practice area. So, I'm sure with, IP and patent law, you can niche down so many different ways. Same thing even with personal injury is when we decided on personal injury, there's so many different variants of a personal injury case, whether it's, medical malpractice, nursing home abuse, car accidents. I mean, there's so many different things. And we even took it a step further and said, especially more recently, that, well, a lot of firms are really good at marketing. They're good at marketing and sales. They're able to get clients. They're able to sign them up and go through what we call the pre-litigation phase of a case. Getting them with the doctors, making sure they get the treatment that they need, negotiating bills, negotiating with the adjusters, and a lot of times having very good success in resolving the case. But not every case fits that mold. And the next step would be litigation. Not a lot of firms are built for litigation. Not a lot of firms want to do litigation. So
I'm raising my hand. No, we actually do have a litigator at the office. So I personally don't want to be a litigator. That's just not the type of law that I can get into. There's aspects I love of it, but I definitely get there's different skill sets, and one of them is a litigator, and you have to be good at it. And I think you have to practice. You have to have the experience, and if not, it's not just like a one size fits all. So you guys, it sounds like, and I was going to ask a follow-up question, because on the one hand, you said you left the firm because, the previous firm, because they were kind of trying to be everything to everybody. And then it sounds like when you guys started your own firm, a bit of that was you trying to be everything to everybody to start out with. Now, was that intentionally and just, hey, we'll take whatever comes in the door because we have to start out making money? And was it intent or plan to eventually niche down, or to find your specialty, your area of expertise, or what you wanted to do? Or kind of how did you, get away from being a, general practitioner that just does all types of law?
Man, I wish we had that much of a plan when we had started, but we really didn't. I mean, that's the crazy part when I look back is like we literally didn't talk about any of that. We're just like, we're gonna start a law firm and we're gonna do it and it's gonna be great. Looking back, I mean, I would want to think that we realized that we had to niche down and that we had to pick one, but it was probably a year later after we opened the firm that we realized, all right, we're going to have to go all in on one of these. And really, that was personal injury. That was the one that we were good at. It's the one that we enjoyed, the one we were able to help a lot of people. We already had a lot of systems and processes, procedures, and things in place to support a personal injury practice area. So we're like, it just fits. It's going to work well for us. But as far as when we started, I mean, there really was no plan.
Yeah, no, and I think that sometimes it just take a lot. I think for most, but even if you have a plan, most businesses, the plan that you may start out with or think about is not where you typically end up, because you have to, there is I think an evolution that comes along with the business of figuring out what you actually like, opposed to what you thought you might like, and what you fit well with, and who your clients are and where your skill sets are and all that. And that just takes time. And you just said you can't plan that all out from the get-go. And so now you guys start to niche down, get into litigation, start doing that. So kind of walk us through, how long has the firm been, how long have you guys been practicing? How long has the firm been in practice, and kind of where's it at today?
Yeah, I mean, so our first year was 2015. That year, I think we did, like $250,000 in revenue. So, like for a first year business, we're like, great, like the model works. We're profitable, so to speak. So, we continued growing probably anywhere from 20 to 35% for the next couple of years, but everything was just, it was really hard because we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't have a business coach. We didn't have advisors. We didn't have people that we could call on. We were just figuring it out, good or bad. Sometimes we did it right, sometimes we did it wrong, and having to adjust on the fly, working lots of hours. And that's the model that so many attorneys fall into, is you're having success in the courtroom for your clients. You're having success on paper because your firm is continuing to grow, but you're working 80, 90-hour weeks. You're at your desk all the time. You're not spending time on your health. You're not spending time with your family. Problems are starting to develop. And that got us to about 2018. And we just kind of looked back and we're like, something has to change. You don't become an entrepreneur to be working in your business all the time and be chained to your desk and chained to your business. And that's when we found a business coach. And probably the single greatest thing that we've done for us individually on a personal, professional, and financial level, because that helped us understand how to run a business and work on your business as opposed to working in your business. And since then, we broke the $1 million barrier for a business, which is something that only like 9% of businesses throughout the nation ever actually do. We've continued, probably at this point, I mean, we're 50% to 100% growth year after year. We're on track this year for somewhere between 2.6, 2.8 million. I'm removed from the running of actual cases. So is my business partner, Mark, to where we work on the business. I'm responsible for marketing and sales. He's responsible for operations and finance. And we've been able to niche down further to where our job is to help other personal injury lawyers make more money faster and with less stress by serving as their outsourced litigation department. It's a market share that not a lot of people want to be in. And we're not also competing with them in the pre-litigation space. So we're all in the business of helping people, helping their clients, helping law firms, helping lawyers, helping everyone, get better, be better, do better.
That's awesome. No, sounds like it's a great place to be, and you found a great place to practice in, and it's worked out well. So awesome. Well, as simple and easy as that is, that sounds like it's your journey, and now excited to see where it goes. And now that we've kind of caught up to the present day, and even getting a little bit of insight into where things are headed in the future, great time to transition to the two questions I always ask at the end of each episode. So the first question I always ask is, along your journey, what was the worst business decision you ever made, and what'd you learn from it?
There are really a lot of bad decisions that we made along the way. And probably, I mean, it's down to two. And one of them is just the mindset of thinking that cheap is okay. when cheap is expensive, whether it's your staff, whether it's a building, whether it's a process or a software, whatever it is, if you go cheap on it, it's going to end up costing you more in the end. It may not cost you more money, at least up front, but it's going to cost you more time. It's going to cost you more heartache. It's going to cost you a lot more money in the end when you have to fix it and adjust. So spend the money up front, invest in your staff, invest in your team, invest in yourself, and you're going to just reap dividends from that. I wish I would have done that so early on, as opposed to being concerned about, do I have the 150 bucks on a license per month per member to get this nice case management software, as opposed to the one that's 20 bucks a month, simple things like that. But it's between that and really, it's not necessarily a experience, but thinking that I have to be the best, thinking that I have to be the best lawyer, I have to be the best receptionist, the best paralegal, the best janitor, the best bookkeeper, the best marketer, the best salesman. Like I have to be the best, and there can't be anyone as good as me because I have to be the best. Once you realize that as the business owner, your job is to place people that are better than you in their given field and craft in a position where they want to succeed and thrive, and just give them metrics to judge themselves by. And then you go grow the business, you go be the visionary. So that way there's not so much pressure on yourself. I mean, those are probably the two, not necessarily experiential mistakes, but those are two of the biggest development mistakes that I made early on, and really only until recently was able to fix and adjust.
Yeah, no, like that. I mean, I think that you should be the best at something, or you should strive to be the best, but you can't be the best at everything, right? So to be the best, litigator, business management, marketer, salesperson, operations, it's just, even if you were the best, you would never have first of all, I don't think you could be the best in all those areas, but even if you could, you wouldn't have the bandwidth to be the best or to be able to provide that to everybody. And so you have to say, which are the areas I think that you enjoy the most, which are the areas that you excel the most, and can you add the rest of the value? And then get out of the way for the people that can do the other areas that, or they are the best, or that they can offer that. And I like that, as well as, I think that there is a balance. It's always interesting in the legal field. And I was even having just a conversation with a client recently that, sometimes they'll come to an attorney, and it's the same with a lot of other ones. And they'll say, hey, I found this cheaper price, and say, by all means, go with it. If you feel comfortable and that's a good place for you, but we're not going to decrease or sacrifice our quality and what we know we need to do in order to provide a good product, just because there's somebody else out there that'll offer at a lower price. And, the analogy I always give is the same thing. You can go build a home, and there's a wide variety of different homes that can be built. Everything from the one that cuts corners, falling apart, all the way to the very most immaculate one. And you have to decide where you want to place your money and which is the most important. Same thing with any of the things. If you buy for the low, if you invest in the lowest quality of things, it's going to be the lowest quality of outcome. And if that's what you need, by all means. So I love both of those mistakes, because I think that they are great ones to learn from and great takeaways. Second question now that I always ask is, now if you're talking to somebody that's just getting into a startup or a small business, what would be the one piece of advice you give them?
Absolutely, without a question, you have to work on building relationships and also your own interpersonal skills. Relationships are the most important thing, and especially I think today, something that we're kind of shying away from. So many people are, relying on the Google machine, or PPC, or digital ads, or any number of things where I'm just going to drop $50,000 a month into this thing and it's going to spit out leads and it's going to be great. That may work, but a lot of those systems are built and designed to hold you captive, because the second you let off the gas, your leads dry up. Whereas if you build your business from the beginning and start building relationships with people and establishing that know, like, and trust, that's going to lead you to a place where you're getting so many more organic referrals for when you get to the point where you're dumping $50,000 a month in whatever ads or anything, and the ads are bad. Because let's face it, things happen. Vendors are up and down just like we're up and down. And if you have multiple streams of getting new leads in and having clients referred to you, whether it's your former clients, your current clients, your vendors, your team, those that you're networking with, if you have a sales team that is out working for you, when you're in your business, then that's going to be bringing you more business, as opposed to just relying on whichever latest, greatest vendor that you selected today to drive sales to your business. So, establishing relationships with people, because that's going to, number one, bring them into the door. But then that also helps you when you're running your business to cultivate that relationship so that they trust you. They know who you were from the beginning, and it just establishes the relationship. So it's all about, that whole know, like, and trust.
No, and I like that. And I think that the takeaway I would take is, having that multiple streams. I mean, I don't think, starting out as, a new business, it's hard to have all those relationships because you're just starting out. So, I don't think that not what you're saying isn't that, there isn't maybe a place for pay-per-click or for advertising or to get those initial leads, but you should be looking to diversify. Do you split it out? Do you have more people, have referrals, have people that are giving you good word of mouth, having, establishing the rates and relationships. And so as you continue to expand, you're not emboldened or you're not captive or held captive by one given avenue. And that way, as one slows down or one speeds up, you have that diversity. So I think that's definitely a great takeaway.
I mean, time's on your side. Like, I mean, you're starting a new business, you have all the time in the world effectively. So invest in yourself and other people so that they can also advocate for you and your business, as opposed to, again, you being the sole source of sales and marketing. Help others to do that for you.
Absolutely. So awesome. Well, now as we wrap up the episode, if people want to reach out to you, they want to be a customer, they want to be a client, they want to be an employee, they want to be an investor, they want to be your next best friend, any or all of the above, what's the best way to reach out to you, contact you, find out more?
So the best way to reach out to us is through our website, and it's the same as our toll-free number. So it's 833-4thewin.com. So that's 833, the number 4, thewin.com. We've got a bunch of free resources. We give away a lot of our templates, complaints, and pleadings so that other attorneys can be successful. So, if that's what we just give away for free, imagine what it's like when you work with us.
Awesome. Well, I definitely encourage people to reach out, support a great firm, or leverage some great experience. If nothing else, make a new best friend. So with that, again, thanks, James, for coming on the podcast. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure. Now, for all of you other listeners that are out there, if you have your own journey to share and you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, we'd love to have you. So just go to inventiveguest.com, apply to be on the show. Couple more things as listeners, make sure to click subscribe, share, leave us a review. Helps us to reach even more startups and small businesses to help them along their journey to success. And on that note, if you ever need help with your patents, your trademarks, or anything else with your startup, your small business, feel free to reach out to us. Just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat. We're always here to help. Well, thank you again, James, for coming on the podcast, and wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun.